So the transfer links are finally starting to come thick and fast at Boro. However, yesterday, one drop that I don't think anybody predicted. Danny Ings to Boro? What? What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another transfer update video here today. Mostly focusing on the extremely surprising link that dropped yesterday that nobody saw coming at all. It dropped late yesterday. It might have been late afternoon, going into the evening, from Luke Edwards, who is a Northern football writer for the Daily Telegraph, who said that Danny Ings is on the verge of signing for Middlesbrough. Not a brand new link that's only just started. He's on the verge of signing, which is what was said. However, according to our local journals, it's not that close, so we'll take a look at what they've said a little bit later. But first of all, let's just talk about it. Danny Ings to Boro. Now, it's safe to say, and I'll be honest, it doesn't take much nowadays for something to completely divide Boro fan base and, you know, set off a chain reaction that leads to people wanting to literally murder each other. But even that, this was one of the most divisive things I've seen in a long, long time. Some think it's a great signing, some think it's an awful signing. And you know what? I can see both sides. I'm not hanging my flag to any specific mast on this one. I'm not jumping to the conclusion that it's an absolutely brilliant signing. I'm not jumping to the conclusion either that it'll be an absolutely dreadful one. I think there's pros and cons for both sides, if I'm absolutely honest. I think when you're looking at Danny Ings, there are absolute red flags there that you can't ignore. You know, he's not played much football over the last season or so. He has a history of injury problems, but I don't think he had injury problems last season. I just don't think he played all that much for West Ham, hence why he ended up getting released. I think he made 14 substitute appearances and only one start. So he clearly is not, I don't think, at Premier League level anymore. But as Luke Edwards said in his initial tweet when he broke it, he would be a good signing for a championship club, and I do think that is true. As I said, red flags yet. Lack of playing time, injury hit career. He is 32, and I think had we not maybe come off the back of a Kelechi Iheanacho, this signing might not be looked at as badly, but there's definitely a lot of PTSD from that signing, which I get absolutely 100%. I see all the red flags that everyone else sees, but I also see a lot of positives in this signing as well. And for me, it's quite simple. It all depends on how Boro use him and how we want to use him and what we expect from Danny Ings. If we expect Danny Ings to be a regular starter, playing most weeks alongside of Tommy Conway, or if we expect him to be someone who can play every week if Conway gets injured or anything like that, then we're stupid, quite honestly. If we want to expect 32-year-old Danny Ings to be playing week in, week out in the Championship, and that's what we want to rely on, we're idiots. And the recruitment team deserve all the criticism that might come their way if that is the case, because I just can't see that being realistic, and I can't see that happening at all. However, if we bring him in and he's being used as a impact player, he might make 10 to 15 appearances, he might come off the bench late in games, he might start the odd game in a Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday week. If we're limiting his game time, managing it well, we're setting realistic expectations, and he is just an addition to the squad, he is a squad player behind Tommy Conway, behind Marcus Forss, maybe even behind someone else, I don't hate it. I don't see the issues there. You know, if we're not relying on him to stay fit all the time and we're worried about his injuries, if he's only going to play 10, 15 games and that's okay, then fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. And he could add them 7 or 8 goals that could make a huge difference come the end of the season. I made a comparison on my TikTok and on a YouTube short I did. I thought of David Nugent, not in terms of profile. I'm not comparing the profile of players at all. You know, David Nugent at 30 was still a pressing workhorse and he was incredible. But in terms of what he could bring, in terms of his experience, Danny Ings has plenty of that. He's played at the highest level. He's played for England. He's played in the Premier League. He played for Liverpool, Southampton, West Ham. I think he played for Villa as well, maybe. I might be getting my claret and blue mixed up there. He's played for a lot of claret and blue. Burnley, of course. There's another one. He's got Premier League experience. He's got promotion experience. He's got a lot of things that Boro don't have, and a lot of things that Boro have been needing. You know, we can't throw this link in the bin and criticise it for being rubbish when, for the last season or so, we've been crying out for a bit of experience in the Boro team. We've been crying out for, you know, a few older players with a little bit of experience, promotion experience, just to give us a better balance, a better mix between youth and experience. He gives us all of them things. So I find it a bit contradictory, really. On one hand, mourning that this is not a good enough signing, and at the same time, he does offer us a lot of things that I think we have been crying out for at Boro in the last season or so. And, you know, you've got fans clamouring to bring in, you know, and re-sign a 37-year-old Johnny Howson, who doesn't have the legs to play in midfield anymore and is having to drop further back into centre-back. And, you know, late on in his career, he's done a great job there. But, yeah, if you're clamouring to, you know, sign on a 37-year-old Johnny Howson, then I don't think bringing in a 32-year-old Danny Ings on a short-term deal is a bad thing at all. So, you know, I see lots of positives. I do see negatives in this as well, but in terms of being that third-choice striker, maybe, he could chip in with some big goals, hopefully, like David Nugent did back in our promotion season. And, you know, if he's asked to just hang around the box, get on the end of crosses, use his experience to be a poacher, I don't see why that couldn't work either. He's obviously not going to, you know, we're not bringing him in as a starting striker because Edwards has said he wants his forwards to be super aggressive on the press, ridiculously aggressive off the ball, win the ball back as soon as you lose it. We obviously are never going to expect Danny Ings to be a pressing machine at his age at 32. So I don't think the club, for that reason, are bringing him in to be a starting striker. I don't even think they can bring him in to be a second choice either behind Conway. But if we bring in other attacking options and he is just an addition to the squad, I think he covers a lot of gaps that we've had in the team in the last season or so. So I don't hate this idea. But it does come with a ginormous asterisk, which is if he is a squad player, then fine. If we're relying on him to start every week, then yeah, it's got disaster written all over it. So let's take a look then at what has been said. We've got an initial update by Scott Wilson from the Echo, which was yesterday, and also an article that's dropped by the Gazette today. So let's take a look at them. So this is what Scott Wilson had to say at the Northern Echo yesterday. Middlesbrough have held talks with Danny Ings and his representatives, but at the moment, the striker is merely one of a number of attacking options considered. So there might be other names that will come out in the coming days. We are speaking to a number of attacking options, which again means that Danny Ings is only one of a few. And if he does come in on a free, we might then sign more. I hope we still do bolster our attack as well as potentially Danny Ings. It says, Ings, a 32-year-old former England international with extensive experience in the Premier League and the Championship, is a free agent following his release from West Ham at the end of the season. The former Burnley, Liverpool, Southampton and Villa, so I was right, forward spent 2.5 years with West Ham after moving to the London Stadium in a £15 million move in January 2023. He made just one Premier League start for the Hammers last season, but also came off the bench 14 times, scoring in a 1-1 draw with Fulham. He was not offered a new deal at the end of the campaign and has spent the last couple of weeks speaking with interested clubs about a possible deal. Middlesbrough are one of those clubs, so there's multiple clubs speaking to him at the moment, with senior officials having held talks with Ings to ascertain his likely wage demands ahead of more formal discussions. So they've just chatted about what he might want wage-wise. If it's too much, I'd like to think we'll just stop it right there and we'll move on to one of our other attacking options. I'm assuming we're going to be looking at quite a few. Talks have not yet reached an advanced stage, but there is interest from the T-siders who are looking to bolster their attacking ranks this summer. Emmanuel Atalaf left in a £22.5 million move from Atlanta in January and was not replaced on a permanent basis. Kelechi Iheanacho spent the second half of last season on loan with Sevilla, but Boro have no interest in pursuing a permanent move for the Nigerian, thank heavens. Josh Coburn has also left, having joined Millwall on a permanent basis earlier this summer. Wrexham are a number of Championship clubs who are understood, or are one of a number of Championship clubs who are understood to have held talks with Ings. I mean, Wrexham are in links with flipping everybody. I think they've even been linked with signing me, to be honest. Every single former Premier League footballer over the age of 30 Wrexham want to sign, with the forward keen to get his future resolved quickly. Boro are active on a number of different transfer fronts, having tabled a bid for Blackburn fullback Callum Britton, who recently entered the final 12 months of his contract at Ewood Park, missed Blackburn's opening pre-season friendly at the weekend after spelling out his desire to talk to Boro. The Teessiders have also held positive talks with Hull over defender Alfie Jones. Boro are understood to be long-term admirers of Jones, who's been a stable and consistent presence at the heart of Hull's defence for a number of years. City's vice-captain started 37 of their 46 games last season, and Hull are aware of Boro's interest, and although talks are at an early stage, a £2 million move has been discussed, and the Tigers, currently under a transfer embargo, which they are appealing against, would be unlikely to reject an offer. That is the same sort of lines that we saw from Dom Shaw a few days ago. On to the Gazette, who have dropped an article today, which you'd assume is a little bit more up to date. Craig Johns has said, Middlesbrough have held positive discussions with Danny Ings over potentially joining the club, though for the time being the veteran striker is one of the options being explored. The centre forward is one of the key areas Boro wish to strengthen ahead of the new season, with Rob Edwards hoping to make progress on one of the club's ambitions to build their way back to the Premier League. It follows the January record sale of Emmanuel Atilath and the failed loan move of Kelechi Iheanacho. You could say that as an understatement. Ings is one target considered and is available on a free transfer after being released by West Ham this summer. Boro have held positive talks with the player and his representatives to ascertain the kind of numbers. So same sort of line as what we saw in the Echo. Ings turns 33 this month, but has been a Premier League stalwart since last season in the Championship. He was last in the Championship in 2014 when he netted 21 goals to help Burnley end promotion to the top flight, as well as spells of Liverpool, Southampton, Villa, and of course 3 years at West Ham. Now, a regular starter, Ings has managed only 5 goals in that time, and a drop to the Championship always appeared the most likely next move this summer, with Edwards wanting to instill a new energetic high press at Boro next term. Ings is seen as a player ideally suited to the style. Interesting. While he would also bring experience and leadership. Now, I get the experience and leadership bit. Would I see him being someone who brings an energetic high press at 33? Not sure about that. Boro need competition for Tommy Conway this summer, having sold Josh Coburn to Millwall last month. The young Scotland international has been handed the number 9 jersey ahead of the new campaign and will be hoping to build on his first positive campaign where he netted 13 goals for Boro last season. Of course, if things were to progress as hoped and Ings did become a Boro player, sources indicated that further strengthening at the top end of the pitch couldn't be ruled out. So there is an answer in regards to bolstering the attack further beyond Danny Ings, which I hope we do. As Edwards continues to get to know the new squad and assess the exact direction he takes, Boro are taking a flexible approach in the transfer market, though there were transfer plans even in place before the new head coach's arrival, and Edwards joined with his own plans and ideas based on his existing knowledge of the squad. He continues to learn more and more of his newly inherited players as he works more closely with them day in, day out. The friendlies also help shape his plans and ideas, with one game played so far. Last weekend's narrow, experimental defeat to Portuguese top-tier side Clube Desportivo Santa Clara to conclude their hot weather training camp. He then moves on to some of the other transfers we saw discussed in the Echo. He mentions, of course, Callum Britton, talks ongoing. Same with Alfie Jones. I don't think there's anything else in the pipeline at the moment other than them 2 defenders and Danny Ings. So, yeah, a mixed bag. As I say, if we're expecting him to be a high-pressing, energetic striker at 33, with his injury record, I'm very sceptical of that. I do hope we bring him in, and I do hope there are alternative options as well. And he isn't the only option behind Conway, because if Conway got injured, I would then feel a little bit uncomfortable about Danny Ings being the only option to fall back on. We have, of course, also got Marcus Forss, but his injury record is also questionable, so I do hope Boro do find another option up front as well as Danny Ings. But as I said at the start, if he's a squad player and nothing more, I honestly don't mind if he is on realistic wages. But it might not come off. The wages might be too high. Boro might move on to alternative targets. Things can change extremely quickly, and this video might become outdated within hours. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. I'm expecting a completely divided comment section. Let me know your pros and cons. Hopefully, as you know, some people love it, some people hate it. Hopefully, there's people who are in the middle and see both sides as well. But yeah, time will tell on this one. Links are dropping all the time. Things are changing quickly. Who knows what might happen by this time tomorrow. So I'll try and keep tabs on everything. Keep the content coming as much as possible. As I say, I'll keep trying to do it on YouTube here. I will make YouTube shorts quickly if anything major drops. They'll also be on my TikTok page if you want to go and follow me over there too. But until next time, guys, take care. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.